Hi, my name is Risha, and I'm a junior, and I'm taking AP American History this year. So, the thesis of the first unit of our textbook basically states that life in the colonies made the American people different from the British people. When reading this thesis, my first question was how? How were the American people made different? This was answered through facts and data and the buildup of British frustration and the cycle between salutary neglect and taxation. My second question was what? What characteristics made the American people different than the British people? It says here on page 2 of the textbook that the colonists cherished ideals that became synonymous with American life: reverence for individual liberty, religious freedom, and economic opportunity. However, as I read through the chapters, I realized that these ideals only rang true for some Americans. We commonly cite these ideals as American ideals, as the reasons or the postulates that this country was founded on. And for one section of this country, they were. But for another less fortunate section of America, none of the so-called American ideals rang even vaguely true. For example, the first American idea is the reverence for individual liberty. Individual liberty is the liberty of those persons who are free from external restraint in the exercise of those rights which are considered to be outside the province of a government to control. For example, the rights which are in our Bill of Rights today: freedom of speech, freedom of press, etc. And it's so simple to say that, of course, the Dutch, French, German, English, European in general, settlers who lived in America believed in and desired individual liberty. But these same people owned slaves and indentured servants. They believed that England had no right to control them or tax them without representation. Yet they would do the same thing to a servant or a slave. So how can they say they have a reverence for individual liberty if they can't even grant their slaves or servants the individual liberty that they cry for? These so-called American ideals were ignoring a whole section of the country. How could we say that we have a reverence for individual liberty when we embrace something such as the Barbados Slave Code, which allowed white masters to whip, mutilate, and even, under certain circumstances, kill their slaves without fear of punishment? I don't see any liberty in that. Religious freedom is immeasurably important in all history, not just American history. It was so important to Americans because England never allowed their citizens religious tolerance. America is known as the cornerstone of religious freedom, and that this country is where the idea of religious freedom first became something even vaguely concrete. This is true for our current society, but at the time of the American Revolution, it did not ring true. Most colonies attempted to enforce strict religious observance. Laws mandated that everyone attend a house of worship and pay taxes that funded the salaries of ministers. 8 of the 13 British colonies had official or established churches. And in those colonies, dissenters who sought to practice a different version of Christianity or a non-Christian's faith were sometimes persecuted. Places like Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania did guarantee religious freedom to all, and these colonies are most likely the reason that we have religious freedom in the whole country today. But other colonies, like Maryland, guaranteed religious freedom to all Christians, but gave the death penalty to those practicing any other religion. The ideal of religious freedom was incredibly important for the Pilgrims and the settlers in general, but it almost seems as if they were spiteful and wanted only their religion to be free, to almost turn the tables and make others feel what they were feeling. This may be justified, but is it true religious freedom? Is it the liberty that we claim America was founded on? Economics affected most everything the colonists did in the time of founding and in the years leading up to the Revolution. Profit was a factor in most every colonist's mind. And for many colonies, including Virginia, profit was the main reason they were ever founded. The Americas did hold more economic opportunity than Britain. That much is very true. But they did not hold as much economic opportunity as everyone seemed to hope. For example, in the colony of Virginia, the tobacco trade instantly made many people large profits. But within a few years, tobacco had ruined the soil and people were fighting for land to plant on. Also, many indentured servants came to Virginia hoping for economic opportunity. And even after they had worked to pay off their debts, they could not find work anywhere and were forced to go back to work for their masters for little to no pay. All of this frustration in Virginia finally built up into Bacon's Rebellion, which was a group of men who had been pushed to the frontier of Virginia, and they took murderously to the Indians who were taking away their economic opportunity because of the fur trade. Chaos swept the colony as frustrated freemen and resentful servants went on a rampage of pilfering and plundering. And Bacon's Rebellion, it would never have happened And it would never have happened or have been necessary in a colony where economic opportunity was embraced and supported. These American ideals, reverence for individual liberty, religious freedom, and economic opportunity, they manifested more as hopes that settlers had for this country. And when it was founded and up to the time of the American Revolution, it may have loosely followed these ideals, but for the most part, I think they were only beginning to grow in America. I think it would take time after the American Revolution for these ideals to truly manifest themselves in this country. Today, I do believe that each and every one of these ideals stands strong and unwavering. I think that it took time for the colonists to learn and grow and to understand that these ideals matter to them. And I think that saying this country has always stood on pillars of liberty, religious freedom, and economic opportunity is untrue. It took time for the colonists to learn how to construct those pillars that America stands on today. I think American history is all about learning and growing and having hopes that maybe don't initially happen, but with time and patience and dedication, they were eventually fulfilled.